Good afternoon, I am Dr. B. Kailash Kumar, Assistant Professor Farm Machinery from Department of Agricultural Engineering. Today we are going to discuss about components of remote sensing and sensors and types of resolutions which are all used for remote sensing purpose. So what are the components of GIS? So it's a basic thing. So for any GIS components we need energy source. We are capturing some of the sources which is retrieved from the earth surface. So for example, the energy which is retrieved from the camera is a light. So the light energy which is reflected back, which is absorbed by the sensor, and we are getting the information. Similarly, so the earth surface, the energy source has to interact with the atmosphere, and from that interacted energy source, so the reflected energy is absorbed by the sensor. So the sensor will gather the informations and it will be sent to the transmission and reception data, and after the transmission and reception, the interpretation and analysis will be carried out. After that, the processed maps or processed data will be used for the application purposes. So especially in agriculture, there are various applications which is used for GIS and remote sensing. So let us see what are the types of sensors which is used for capturing those data. So first of all, what is a sensor? The sensor is a device which is used to measure a reflected electromagnetic spectrum or electromagnetic energy from the body or from the object for investigation. So there are two types of sensors are available. First thing is a active sensor and second thing is a passive sensor. So what is that active and passive? So before that we will know about some of the modes of taking sensors and taking the data. So first thing is that spatial, which is ground based, and airborne and space borne. So the ground borne sensors are nothing but which is having a physical contact with the surface or physical contact with the object and gathering information, and the space borne is nothing but a satellite or earth observatory satellite which is sent by the propulsion unit, and the space borne and another one is airborne which is nothing but a drone, aircrafts and flights and balloons which are used for gathering the data by use of sensors. So let's come to the passive and active sensors. The passive and active sensors are nothing but which is which collects the information with the use of sensor, and the energy source is different. For example, the passive sensor, it is not having the same category, it is not having the energy from itself, so it gathers energy from another source. For example, sun is the energy for the passive sensors. So the sun gives the light towards the surface. When the surface gets the light, it reflects back to the sensor and it is absorbed by the passive sensors. The active sensor is nothing but the active sensor are having the own categories or own capable of generating energy, and it gives the light and gathers the information from the surface and it absorbs the data. So these are the two kinds of sensors, active sensors and passive sensors. So let us discuss about how it will integrate with the surface and how it gathers the data or how it captures the images. So there are two types of capturing systems. First one is the push broom and whisk broom. So you can call it as across track and along track scanning system. So across track scanning is a whisk broom and along track scanning system is a push broom. So the sensors which is travel along or across the track is the word it is coined for their understanding purpose. So when the sensor is traveling along the path, it takes the pixel by pixel images or the cube of cube images perpendicularly, means across track. So across track is a method which is used to obtain the data or informations or images of the space by means of cubical format or cubical image sectors to the earth surface. Then coming to the along track. So along track is nothing but the satellite which is rotating along the axis of the orbit. So the axis, along with that, it is capturing the images parallelly. So the parallel images are captured and it is captured based on the overlapping percentage which is provided in the sensor data. So you can see the image which is available for cross track scanning system. So the cross track scanning system and as well as the along track scanning system. So from that there are from these two methods, the along track and across track has a different purposes. So for example, so if you want to take a across track scanning system, it has several purposes. For example, the same along track scanning system. So after capturing the images, what are all the things need to be carried out? So this is based on the types of resolutions. So let us discuss about the types of resolutions. There are 4 kinds of resolutions. First one is temporal resolution, spatial resolution, spectral resolution and radiometric resolution. So the temporal resolution is nothing but how much time it takes to cover the same space or same object or same pathway return back to the image capturing, and spectral and spatial resolutions are nothing but how far this resolution, how far the detailed images can be captured, the detailed content of the image capturing purpose or image capturing pixels can be represented as a spatial and spectral resolutions, and the radiometric resolutions are the corrections without having any corrections or without having any problems in the image or without having any noises, how far the sensor captures the resolutions. So this is about the basic components of the GIS and the sensors which is used for capturing the system and how these methods will be carried out. So let us discuss about the types of possible questions which can be asked for your examination point of view. List out the components of GIS. So we have seen the 7 components of GIS. First of all, the energy source. The second thing is the energy source interacting with the atmosphere. Third is the reflected energy is absorbed and recorded in the sensor. And the fourth one is the transmission of data, and fifth one is the interpretation and receiving of the data, and sixth one is the analysis of the data, and seventh one is the application of this data. Then second question is what are the types of sensor which is used for recording the data. So these are the basically 2 types I will inform you, passive and active sensors. The passive and active sensors based on the energy source which is utilized for capturing the data, it differs. And what is meant by push broom and whisk broom scanning system. So push broom and whisk broom scanning system is across track and along track. So the satellite which is travel along the pathway is along track scanning and along track photographic system, and across track is that the satellite which captures in the cubical format of a series of images in the cube format. So this is about today's lecture. Thank you.